It is so good to be with you this morning. My name is Linda Noonan. I'm the senior pastor. My pronouns are she and her. We're so glad that you have each chosen to worship with us in this sacred space this morning. I want to invite you to just take a deep breath and settle yourself wherever you are, whatever that means for you. Notice your feet planted on the ground or your body reclining or seated in something. Notice the way that the earth, the ground, is supporting you and holding you up. Notice too the ways in which for most of us here, the land that we are currently sitting or standing or lying is not ours, but comes to us as stolen land as the result of stolen labor. And it is ours not to own, but to steward. The land that many of us in this area in Philadelphia are on was traditionally stewarded by the Lenni Lenape people. We are on Lenape-Hoking territory. May our worship, our time together, our commitments, our lives, our words, our actions, our songs be in concert with our Indigenous siblings and honor this sacred land and their sacred lives. And now our prelude comes to us this morning from across the other pond from Kyoko in Japan, and it is the song Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Amen. Yoko, that was spectacular. Thank you for transporting us over the rainbow. Our opening song, Be Now My Vision, will be led by Kipp.
Good morning. I invite you to sing along with me as best as you can early on a Sunday morning. Be now my vision, O God of my heart. Nothing surpasses the love you impart. You my best thought by day or by night, waking or sleeping, your presence my light. Be now my wisdom and be my true word. Ever within me my soul is assured. Mother and Father, you are both to me. Now and forever your child I will be. Riches I heed not, nor life's empty praise. You my inheritance now and always. You and you only are first in my heart. Great God, my treasure, may we never part. Sovereign of heaven, my victory won, may I reach heaven's joys, O bright and sun. Heart of my own heart, whatever befall, still be my vision, O ruler of all.
Amen. Our opening sentences this morning will be led by Care Mesner and Emery Carter. We invite you to join along wherever you are.
What can a person do to help bring back the world?
We have to watch it, and then we have to look at each other.
Together, we hold it close and carefully save it, like a bubble that can disappear if we don't watch out.
Please think about this as you go on.
Breathe on the world.
Hold out your hands to it.
When mornings and evenings roll along, watch how they open and close, how they invite you to the long party that your life is.
Breathe onto the world.
Hold your hands out to it. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks, Care. Thanks, Emery, for leading us this morning. I invite you to take a moment to just consider the announcements and what's coming up, what's happening, how you might want to lean in or be involved or seek connection. So this is a Communion Sunday. We celebrate communion on the last Sunday of each month. So today is a Communion Sunday, so feel free to get something bread or bread-like and something to sip or drink, and we will be celebrating communion together later in the service. Thanks to our worship team this morning, Terry Roberts, who's running tech, Beth Hawkins, Shannon Bond Young, our greeters, and to Care and Emery for just leading us in opening sentences. If you'd like some pastoral support, you don't have to be in a full-blown crisis. You don't even have to have anything particularly wrong. If you just would like some pastoral connection and support, please don't hesitate to reach out to either myself or to Kipp. You can also request prayers from the pastoral staff by sending an email to prayers@chestnuthillunited.org. Several things coming up. One is this Thursday evening. I want to really encourage you, if you don't have other Zoom plans or other plans Thursday evening, to join the Power Leadership Assembly. You may know that Power Interfaith is the largest interfaith social change organizing body in the state of Pennsylvania. We're growing like wildfire, and our little congregation is one of the founding members. This week on Thursday, we're having what's called the Leadership Assembly, where all the congregations that are part of Power will come together. The Leadership Assembly, Power is now a statewide organization, but the Leadership Assembly this Thursday will be just the Philadelphia congregation. So it will be the Philadelphia chapter. We will be getting to know one another a little bit better, hearing more about the work of Power, and we'll be focusing this Thursday on what's happening with criminal justice reform and Power's leadership in the city of Philadelphia. Along that front, we'll also be hearing about some of the kind of groundbreaking work that's being done around educational justice by our educational team. So Thursday at 7, it's an easy thing to kind of participate in and just be part of. I'll be sending out an all-church email with information about how you can register for that and get the link for that for Thursday night. So stay tuned for that email. And if you're not on our email list and would like to be, please send either Kipp or myself a note in the chat, and we will make sure that you're added to that list. Amazing workshops at no cost. How can you go wrong with that? CARE continues to exercise part of his ministry and leadership and wisdom through the Naramata Center in Canada and offers some incredible workshops. They are for this time period at no cost to us as a congregation and to any of you who are affiliated with the church. So please do check that out. The workshops are spectacular. We will be re-enabling chat, so you can now chat, you can unmute yourself, you can change your name if you would like, and if you're having any tech issues, please reach out to either Kipp or myself this morning. Here's a list of our community groups. We took a little bit of a pause in January to assess and reevaluate, and this is the list of everything that's coming up this month. It's a pretty great menu of things. Pandemic Parenting meets on Monday evenings. The Amen and Amen, the BIPOC group, meet on Tuesday of this week. People with elder parents, people who have kind of elder parents in their lives that they support, are concerned about, care about, will be meeting this Wednesday. So that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Our Sci-Fi Book Club will be reading Robopocalypse, and that will be meeting a week from Tuesday. Grief Writing Group meets later in the month on Tuesday the 16th. And Rainbow Connection, the LGBTQ plus group, will be meeting on Thursday the 18th. I will also be sending out an all-church email with this schedule and also all of the Zoom links. So that is the batch of announcements for this morning. And I'll turn it over to Kipp now for our time with children.
Hi again. See which kids we have. I wonder if the kids or their grown-ups, can you put up your digital hands? I think that is a really great way to do our time with children, because that puts you up at the top of the screen so we can see you all in the same place. Thank you. Is that TJ? And I think Laura and Eli and Maisie were clapping. Oh, thank you. Now hands up. That is great. Do we have any other kids who want to get digital hands up? And your real hand is up. Thank you for putting your real hand up as well. That's so helpful. I want to start today by asking the question. Asking a question that we often ask, and we usually ask this when we're in the church, but some of you haven't been in the church with us before, so we're practicing asking this question now too. Is there anything that you would like to tell us about this week? Something that happened, or something that is going to happen that you're looking forward to, or that you're a little worried about? Anything you would like to tell us about? Eli, I see you there.
I mean loud. Well, we learned about the Mars rover in school. We did this one class instead of doing the class. Instead, we just watched a video we watched the TV of. We watched we watched the news for the Mars rover. And we had to do virtual, so everybody had Mars backgrounds.
Nice. That's really fun. I don't know if you noticed that the first picture that we had up in our slides this morning was a picture of Mars.
The Mars rover.
Yes, landing. So I'm so glad you got to see that in school. Hi, Maisie. Are you also waiting to say something? No, you're just waving. Thank you.
And the
Can you talk
Mars
about your teeth?
rover.
Can I tell you something?
Get really close. Show them.
I lost my tooth.
Wow, it looks like you've got 3 teeth missing now. That's pretty exciting. So
3 teeth that are still growing in.
okay, did you get a visit from the tooth fairy?
Mhm.
Cool.
And I know the name of the Mars rover, Perseverance.
Very nice, very nice. Thank you for sharing that with us. Tia, it looks like you have been waiting to say something to us. Thank you for waiting, and we want to hear what you would like to tell us.
Okay.
Go ahead. What do you want to tell?
I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, that's okay.
That's okay. Say thanks for letting me share.
No.
Not today.
Okay. Well, we're glad that you're here. We're very glad that you're here. Were there any other kids that were wanting to say anything? And then I have a question that I want to ask for the kids.
Juniper wants to say something.
Oh, there you are. Hi, Juniper.
Hi.
What would you like to tell us about?
I'm for kindergarten and I'm getting a little sister in July.
You're getting a little sister in July? That is super exciting. We are so excited for you. Thank you so much for telling us about that. Are you pretty excited about that?
And I'm also registered for kindergarten.
And you registered for kindergarten. Oh, okay, I missed that part. These are really big things that are going on in your life, Juniper. I'm glad that you were able to tell us about these. So I have a question that I would like to ask for all of the kids here. And this is just a question. Some people have an easy time with this question, and some people have a hard time with this question. I hope that you'll have an easy time with it. My question is, I wonder if you can tell us one thing. And the one thing that I would like for you to tell us, if you can, tell us one thing that you like about yourself. Any of the kids, can you tell us something that you like about yourself? Tia, are you ready to say something?
I think Juniper has her hand up.
Oh, okay. Juniper, did you want to tell us something? Something you like about yourself?
I like it because I'm a girl.
You like being a girl. Oh, that's good. That's a really good thing to like about yourself. Thanks for telling us that. Tia, are you ready to tell us something?
Okay, there you go. What
I'm
do you love?
ready.
What do you love about yourself?
Quiet. I love some quiet time.
You love doing quiet time. What about yourself do you love? What did you just tell mommy? You love your
Heart.
heart.
You love your heart. Oh, that's such a great thing to love. I love that too. Thank you for telling us about that. Eli, you look like you've got something to say.
I like that I'm good at science.
You're good at science. That's a great thing. I like that about you too. How about you, Maisie? Do you have anything that you would like to tell us?
You like that. You like that you sit when you want to lose.
Yes.
What is it that you like?
I like to lose my teeth whenever I want to lose my teeth.
You're at exactly the right age for having a tooth losing superpower. That is pretty exciting. Maybe it's a tooth fairy summoning superpower. Well, thank you. I wanted us to practice things that we like about ourselves, and I guess I should also play by my own rules, right? One of the things I like about myself, I have these wrinkles that I'm getting by my eyes, and they make me happy because they tell me that I smile a lot and laugh a lot, and that's something that I like to do. So I wanted us to practice this because the things that we like about ourselves are things that we can offer to the world and make the world a better place. Thank you all so much for being brave and sharing this stuff with us. All right, I guess that means it's time for the next part of church, isn't it? Which is also my part. So we've got a couple, I'm doing a brief poem as a first reading. And this it will be obvious why I had to choose this. It's a brief poem. It may or may not land right, which is also true of Mars rovers, right? But this is from Tracy K. Smith's collection, Life on Mars. And it's the opening poem in it. Tracy K. Smith is a prior poet laureate. For a long while, she was hosting a poetry podcast. Now I think she's working on new projects. So I miss getting an email from her in my inbox every day. It wasn't unique to me. I think she was sending them out to lots of people. But this is the opening poem from Tracy K. Smith's collection, Life on Mars. It's called The Weather in Space. Is God being or pure force? The wind or what commands it? When our lives slow and we can hold all that we love, it sprawls in our laps like a gangly doll. When the storm kicks up and nothing is ours, we go chasing after all we're certain to lose. So alive, faces radiant with panic. Strikes me as a poem about holding tight and letting go, and knowing when to do each. And it felt like a good fit for the readings today. I'm going to read two of the assigned Bible lessons for today, because they've felt like they sat well together. The first is from Genesis chapter 17. This comes from the origin stories of Israel. There are a couple of different, the story gets repeated a couple of times with variations, but the story of God coming to Sarah and Abraham and promising to make them into a vast nation. And this is how this version goes from Genesis 17. When Abram was 99 years old, God appeared, and we'll say, in case we don't remember the story, that Abram and Sarah were childless. So becoming the ancestors of a great nation was a bit of a conundrum in their elderhood. When Abram was 99 years old, God appeared and said, "I am the Almighty One. Walk in my presence and be blameless. I will make a covenant between you and me, and I will increase your number exceedingly." Abram fell on his face before God, and God said to him, "This is my covenant with you. You and Sarai will be the ancestors of many nations. You are no longer to be called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham, for I have made you the ancestor of a multitude of nations. I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of you, and rulers will spring from you. I will establish my covenant as an everlasting covenant between me and you and your descendants after you for generations to come. I will be your God and the God of your descendants after you." Then the other of the assigned Bible readings that I will read this morning is the gospel reading. This is Mark chapter 8, starting at verse 31. Jesus began to teach them, his disciples, Jesus began to teach them that the child of humanity must undergo great suffering, be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, the religious scholars, be put to death, and rise again 3 days later. Jesus said these things quite openly. Peter took him aside and began to take issue with him. And at this, Jesus turned around and, eyeing the disciples, rebuked Peter and said, "Get behind me, Satan. You're judging by human standards rather than by God's." Jesus called the crowd and the disciples and said, "If you wish to come after me, you must deny yourself, take up your cross and follow me. If you would save your life, you'll lose it. But if you lose your life for the sake of the gospel, you'll save it. What would you gain if you were to win the whole world, but lose yourself in the process? What can you offer in exchange for your soul? Whoever in this faithless and corrupt generation is ashamed of me and my words will find in turn that the child of humanity and the holy angels will be ashamed of them when all stand before our God." This is God's good, maybe unsettling news. So, as we already heard from Eli, it's called perseverance. That's the name that a Virginia 7th grader by the name of Alexander Mather came up with in his winning essay for a NASA essay contest. It's a fitting name. It took 7 months to get there, but Perseverance landed on Mars this past week after a journey of some 38 million miles. It's about the size of a Subaru Outback, and it's equipped with a subsurface radar, a weather station, 23 cameras, and a helicopter. The helicopter was named by a high school junior from Alabama named Vaniza Rupani. It's called Ingenuity, which also seems fitting. Somehow, the whole package held together like it was supposed to as it rocketed into the red planet. In 2 minutes, it decelerated from 12,000 miles per hour to 2 miles per hour before it stuck the landing inside a 3 billion-year-old crater that scientists think may once have held a river delta. And just for a frame of reference, the internet tells me, I don't know this fact myself independently, the internet tells me that the average speed of an airplane is 575 miles per hour. So Perseverance went from more than 20 times as fast as an airplane down to the speed of a very leisurely stroll in 2 minutes. You wouldn't want your face pressed up against the windshield for that ride. I will confess to a little bit of Luddite cynicism. This is a $3 billion venture. And we have so many this worldly problems that could be addressed with that funding. We seem to be looking for an escape from this planet rather than looking for ways of healing it. And do we really need to keep putting our garbage on whole other planets? Isn't our very own floating trash island enough? But I'm not only cynical, and not that cynical. Mostly what I am is in awe. The photos are stunning, not because they're of a landscape that is beautiful in the way that we tend to think of beautiful landscapes. It hasn't rained on Mars for a few billion years. It's a lot of rock and dust, and the windstorms would probably scour the flesh off your bones in the time it took you to offer an Ash Wednesday prayer about being dust, and to dust you will return. But they are photos on another planet and are broadcast back here across a distance that my mind can't even compute. They're photos of a rock that came into being through the same cosmic processes that gave us the rock we're spinning on, that gave us our very selves. It's breathtaking. Part of what Perseverance is after is the question of whether Mars ever sustained life. Not the take me to your leader sort of life from 1950s sci-fi movies, but simple forms of microbial life. One of its jobs will be to drill for core samples in rocks and soils that seem like they might yield clues. It will collect its samples and then nothing. It will set them aside. It will wait. Because so far, the plan has been to get there and collect them. As of now, the next step is not entirely known. At least that's what I gathered from the Inquirer article this week that said the samples will be set aside with the hope that a future mission will retrieve them for analysis. A 7-month journey and a fact-finding mission that will end ultimately with a dead battery. Now that is a parable, if ever I have heard one. Listen, and I will tell you a story. A team of people worked on a massive project that had no guarantee of succeeding on its own terms. And they did so knowing that succeeding on its own terms would mean that it was unfinished. So they went about gathering rocks and dirt that they would never see with their own eyes or touch with their own hands. And they hoped that sometime some other team, which who knows, maybe would include some of this team, would figure out how to collect and analyze the rocks and the dirt. Let those who have ears to hear listen. In some ways, this story of perseverance reads like an ancient story of the future. It's a future story because it's interplanetary and open-ended, but it holds some resonance with the ancient stories of the Bible. In today's Hebrew Bible reading, God appears to Abram to reiterate a covenant. It's part of Israel's origin story that God shows up with promises that childless and elderly Abram and Sarai will be the forebears of nations that bless the earth. In this telling of it, the couple receives new names, Sarai to Sarah, Abram to Abraham, which in the ancient world was a way of signaling a new status. God approaches Abram and says, from now on, you will be called Abraham. Abram and Abraham mean very similar things, just like Sarai and Sarah are similar. They're both variants of princess. For Abraham, the root is about ancestors. Abram to Abraham is a change from exalted ancestor, which remember again, an elderly childless person holding this name, but it's a change from exalted ancestor to ancestor of multitudes. Maybe it's an intensification, or maybe it's mostly significant because of the symbolism of having a new status. But either way, it's an invitation and maybe even a challenge to think about the present as a prologue. The life you are living will have a bearing on those yet to come. The thing about that, about recognizing yourself as an ancestor, maybe especially, but not only if you're one who God says will be particularly important, is that your vision is always partial. You're only ever a part of the story. The story itself is much bigger than you are. And your best hope is that you'll do your part and the story will keep going. This was true for Sarah and Abraham. It was also true, to name another of Israel's crucial stories, it was also true of Moses. He helped lead the people out of their captivity in Egypt and through years of wandering the desert only to die before they settled the land without him. The story is bigger than even its most prominent players. We don't always get to see the results. Sometimes the best we can do is plan to gather the rocks and soil and hope that someone else will be able to learn from them. Jesus says it even more plainly in the gospel reading. There is also loss involved in all of this. There's no way around that, really. No one makes it through life unscathed. There are tears and sweat and blood. Grief touches us all. Even the child of humanity must undergo great suffering and die. Peter didn't want to hear that part. Like one of our great modern death deniers. He took Jesus aside and told him to stop talking nonsense. The desire to see ourselves as the end and the resolution of the story, that runs deep. But Jesus was a truth teller. We are not the story, but we offer ourselves to it in the conviction that we can help shape its direction. And then he said something with deep echoes of the wisdom that the Buddha had discovered 5 centuries early, who said that life's suffering arises in part from our frantic attempts to hold on to that which is always shifting. Jesus said it like this: those who want to save their life will lose it. Those who lose their life for the sake of the gospel will save it. We're not promised results. But sometimes we do get to see the child of humanity who has suffered and died. We get to see him rise again and keep shaping the story. And we should celebrate that when we do get to see it. Many of you are well aware of the work that our Environmental Justice Center has been doing for years now to help us support conservation and renewable energy. And more recently, in naming ways that environmental work needs to be tied into work for racial justice. This is work that is so important and has so often seemed hopeless, especially over the past 4 years, as a prior administration undid as many protections as it could and offered the earth as plunder to the highest bidder. It was work that called for the giving of self, while extractive industries gorged on every body they could. But this past Thursday, there was a blip, or more than that. The child of humanity rose again. You all are up to speed on the subject of fracking. I know fracking involves shooting pressurized liquid into the earth to fracture it and hold the fractures open to let natural gas escape more easily. There's been ample documentation about how groundwater has been contaminated as a result. For the past decade, there's been a moratorium on fracking in the Delaware River Basin. The basin covers the eastern third of Pennsylvania and provides drinking water for some 13 million people. This past Thursday, the Delaware River Basin Commission decided to make the fracking moratorium a permanent ban. The Delaware River Basin will not be fracked. This news is so big that Joy Berge forwarded the announcement to the Environmental Justice Center email list as soon as she read it. Sources can neither confirm nor deny that she admitted to weeping when she first read the news. It's such a big deal. Sometimes we get to see results. Sometimes we get to see resurrection at work. And a lot of time we don't. We offer ourselves as prologue. We aim to live into the role of ancestors. We take up our cross. We let go. We gather the rocks and the soil with hopes that someone else will be able to sift through them and hopes that somehow they'll offer helpful knowledge. And we give ourselves over to wonder, knowing always that the story is larger than we are and that it keeps going on. This is God's good news. Amen.
Thank you, Kipp. At this time, we will prepare for our time of offering, which looks a little different than it used to when we were in person in some ways. And in some ways, it's just exactly the same way some of us have been giving for a while. The information is on the screen about how you can offer a gift. And it's in the chat as well. And while we're taking some of that in, our spotlight on generosity this morning is actually on some of you and some of the people connected to you. And so what I would invite you to do for just a very brief minute is to notice, are you somebody who has been invited to the church, to this church by somebody? And or are you somebody who has invited someone to church? Even if they haven't come, are you somebody who's invited someone to this church? Or are you someone who's been invited by someone? And if you are either of those, I invite you to put briefly in the chat just the name of the person who invited you to church, or just say if you are someone who has invited someone to this congregation. And as you're doing that and thinking about that, because I know there are a number of you here, we want to just really notice the ways in which this is what it means to be church. That we do not, the way we grow and the way we connect to one another and the way that we become different is through people that have reached out to us and invited us in and drawn us in, or the ways in which we are on fire about what this community means or could mean, and we invite others into the collective, into the work, into the joy, into the struggle, into what it means to be people connected together in spirit on this earth at this time, and the ways that we gather those rocks together. So don't be shy. I am just going to read out some of these names as a prayer of thanksgiving. Francesca Cantarini, Kelly Donnelly, Liz Knapp, Jamie Stroud, Wade Luquette, Hal Tausig, Beth Hawk, Ethel Scott, Kathy Jacobson, Nell Anderson, Tony and Karen Clementi, Amanda Trays, Leslie Hamilton, Ellen Brennan, Melinda Tatum Kaiser. For those of you who are on this list and for all of those named and all of the people over the years that have gathered in the folk, we are, and there are more. Becky Jamros, Joe and Jack Vandenberg, Debbie Donnelly. For all of you and for all of these, we give thanks. Patty Fleetwood. So there are more. So thank you to all of you who have invited in other folk, called them in, and helped us to be better because you are each here. And just imagine all the people who are not yet here that we could be inviting. So take that as a prayer of gratitude and an invitation and a challenge. Thanks so much.
I just want to share, because it came only to me, not to everyone. Jay Kaiser shared that he and Melinda were invited by the Yellow Pages, which tells you that they've been around for a little while.
Some of you will need to Google Yellow Pages. At this time, we're going to move on. Note to self, in case this wisdom is of use to anyone in the future. Peanut butter pretzels for communion before you sing the closing song. Not super advisable. I trust that I am blessed, but boy, they don't go down easy. We will sing together our closing song, I'm on my way. Wow. I'm on my way to the freedom land. I'm on my way to the freedom land. I'm on my way to the freedom land. I'm on my way. Great God, I'm on my way. I asked my sibling, come come and go with me. I ask my sibling, come and go with me. I ask my sibling, come and go with me. I'm on my way, great God, I'm on my way. If they say no, I'll go anyhow. If they say no, I'll go anyhow. If they say no, I'll go anyhow. I'm on my way, great God, I'm on my way. I'm on my way, and I won't turn back. I'm on my way, and I won't turn back. I'm on my way, and I won't turn back. I'm on my way, great God, I'm on my way. Go from this place. Be on your way. Continue on your way. Gather the rocks amidst the dust and the craters. Know that there will be learning. Know that you do not do this alone. Know that there is so much more to this world than we can see. And know that God sees us intimately, deeply, lovingly. Go from this place in peace. Amen. And I invite you, if you want, to come off mute and say good morning or hello and goodbye. And we're so glad that you have been with us and we have been together this morning.
Thank you, everyone.